All right. I'm going to hang out for a bit and wait for some folks to join. But this is going to be the live launch party for Lionheart, Book 1 of the Roots of Stone, which is now available everywhere. So get your copy today. So I'm just going to hang out for a minute while notifications go out and people start to join. But I am excited to get started. As you can see, I'm ready to go. Got my book. Got my second book. I've got my map behind me. We've got bow, we've got flags. Everything you need for a launch party. It's kind of funny because normally this type of event you would have lots of folks around, have a big party maybe, celebrate the book, but with our COVID-19 world we're living in right now, it's going to be mostly just me, but there may be some surprise guests later on. So, oh hey, we got Jocelyn and Bianca on, my biggest fans. Couple of real deals there. All right. So, since this is going to be a video recording available forever and ever on social media, I'm going to go ahead and dive into it. And as people join, they can enjoy at their leisure. If they catch on now, great. If they're watching later, that's just as good as well. So, let me start off by introducing myself. My name is Evan W. Deal, and I am the author and publisher of Lionheart, this book right here, which is book 1 of The Roots of Stone. So let me bring it in close. This is a labor of love from several years of my life, and I am just so excited that today is the day that it is finally launching. So, let me tell you just a bit about me. I live in Indianapolis with my wife and my 1-year-old daughter, who are both on the stream right now, and I'm grateful for their support. I'm a huge fantasy fan. If you could see all around my office, or as I should call it, the grand offices of Rory and Stone Publishing and the creative center where I do all my writing, you would see posters of Star Wars. We've got Game of Thrones stuff. I've got the Night's Watch Oath up on a wall. There's DC stuff everywhere. I've got Batman and Joker. I've even got Lionheart from the Thundercats here. So I love fantasy stories. And what I always wanted to do was write my own fantasy story and bring it to everyone out there to give them something to enjoy, something to read, and something that they can debate about and theorize over. And that's just my favorite type of thing. That's the stuff I love doing, and so I'm hoping that others will enjoy it as well. So with that in mind, let's dive into Lionheart, book 1 of the Roots of Stone. What I want to do to kick things off is to introduce the book, to talk about the characters who are in it and what exactly they're doing. So, in Lionheart, there are 5 point-of-view characters, and each one of them has a unique story and a different point of view, which is why they're point-of-view characters. But the main thrust of the story is is a quest to seek and destroy the king of all beasts, and he is an ancient evil. He is one who once was, who once terrorized all of Talamh, which is the land of the Roots of Stone. And now it seems as though he is arisen again. So what we have is this epic quest to find him, to seek him out, and to put an end to him before his evil can spread across the entire land. So keeping that in mind, let's explore these different characters. The first point of view character, his name is Prince Arjen of Carth. So he is our hero. He is adamant and strong and resolute. He is a young man of noble character, of great prowess on the battlefield, and he's sort of the first person to kick things off. His quest in the story is that of seeking out the Beast King. So he is following sort of the central narrative towards that ultimate foe, and he's even on the cover there. So we got him there. He's looking heroic. He's looking off to those dread mountains in the distance where danger certainly lurks. So he's definitely a heroic character, and he comes from the land of Qarth, which my map's a little further away than I was hoping it would be, but you can always check it out on the website for the series too, which is called therootsofstone.com. But I'm going to point out, generally, geographically speaking, where all these folks are from. So up in the corner here, we have Qarth. It's in the northeast reach of Talamh, and it's very mountainous near the top, and it goes down into riverlands towards the south. The capital city there is called Valais, and it's where Aryan is from, where his parents, King Alistair IV and Artesia, where they reside as well. So, what Aryan does is he sets forth from his homeland all the way across Talamh, and as we join him in the very beginning of the novel, we find him in the Abysm, which is a goblin stronghold in the western frontierlands. So he is very far from home, and we join him already in progress on his adventure. So I don't want to give too much away. I just want to touch on each of these characters a bit to give you a taste of who they are. So I'll leave that with Aryan for now, and we can dive into him a little bit more because I want to read some of the book here at the end of the stream. So our next point of view character, also from Qarth, is Princess Morena. So Morena is not Aryan's sister, but she is called Princess for two reasons. One, she's Aryan's betrothed. Aryan is the Prince of Carth by two different ways. He is the prince because he is the son of the king and queen, but in Qarth, they choose their own leaders. So he is also prince because he is the next in line chosen by the people to succeed his father when his father's reign is over. So he is, prince in both different ways. And Morena is princess in two different ways. She is princess because she's the betrothed of Aryan, as I mentioned, and she's also princess because she is an orphan, and she was adopted by the king and queen as a sort of her guardians about a decade ago, before the story takes place. So just as Aryan is prince in two ways, she is princess in two ways. And unlike Aryan, he's somewhat stoic, he's more reserved, keeps his sort of emotions to himself, Morena is very fiery, and she's very passionate. But what she shares with her betrothed is they're both very, very committed to their homeland. They care very deeply for the people of Qarth, for their friends and family. And so each in their own way fights to protect what they love and who they love. So with that, Morena's story kicks off in Valais. So while Aryan, who is from Qarth, is very, very far away from home as we join him in the story, Morena, on the other hand, is in Qarth. She is very much in the heart of it, and you get to see Qarth and all that makes up the country through her eyes, and why she loves it, and of course why Aryan does as well. So moving down our list of point of view characters, next up we have Lewin Greentrees, who is... Sorry, I hear my daughter running down the hall. He is what they call, he's a Mordonian, which they are known as the Dead Elves. And before you get any Walking Dead thoughts in your head, they're not actually dead. They're mortal elves. So before I dive into Lewin, let me tell you how the elves are split within the world of Talamh. So here, right in the middle of the map, behind where my head was, is the Eternal Forest. And this is where the bulk of the elves live. As their name would suggest, they live forever. They're kind of like a lot of the elves in Lord of the Rings. You could compare them to, where they're very noble and very pure. And they have sequestered themselves as time has gone on deeper and deeper within the woods and do not explore the world of man outside. But what the Mordonians are, and Mordonia is way up here in the corner. It's a very small land where an elven remnant now lives. So the Mordonians are unlike the Eternal in that they're mortal. And the reason they're mortal is because during the original wars against the King of all beasts, they summoned wicked, forbidden magics in an effort to defeat him. And they tapped into, for lack of a better word, the dark side, and became impure in the process. So the Elf Lord of Eternum, Shothrun, cast them out from Eternum. So they are very much separate from all the other elves. Their appearance is now different, and they do not live forever. So into this situation, we have Luin, who is called Green Trees by his fellow guardsmen because he's part of the Mordonian Guard. They call him Green Trees because he's actually part Eternal and part Mordonian, and he's the only one who's like that. So he looks a little bit different in his eyes and in his appearance, and he has this feeling that he doesn't quite belong in either place, that he's not fully Mordonian, and he doesn't know that he would be welcomed in the Eternal Forest either. So we have this character who is of two worlds, but all he's known his entire life is Mordonia, because that's where he's grown up. And while he's in Mordonia, he has become quite the archer. As you can see on my wall, I love archery, but I am a mediocre archer, and Luin is the best there is. He would put Legolas to shame if they were in a shooting contest. So, he's still young in elven years, but he is very old compared to humans. He's over 200, but really he's just entering adulthood among his kind. So even though the Mordonians are mortal now, their version of mortality is much lengthier than a human's. So we join him in Dar Exul, which is the city of the exiles in Mordonia and their capital. And he is honestly just looking for adventure. He's looking for something different, kind of like in Disney's Hercules, when Hercules he wants to go the distance. He wants to feel like he belongs and find where he belongs. That's kind of like Luin. So he's very hopeful, unlike most of his compatriots among the Mordonians, and he just wants to believe in a better tomorrow. Someone who has the exact opposite of the better tomorrow is Martin Grimmer, who is our fourth point of view character. He is the Mage of Old Dearth, and Old Dearth is this tiny dot on the map on the edge of the Eternal Forest. It used to be a grand city of great learning and culture, and it was absolutely razed to the ground during the first conflict with the King of all beasts. And that was sort of tied up in what we talked about with the Mordonians earlier, and yet something separate as well. But I don't want to spoil anything. But that's where he hails from. No one knows how old he is. He is of an indeterminate wizardly age. He has been around for centuries and centuries and centuries, and he is a man with much regret. As his name would suggest, he is certainly Grimmer. People don't really like it when he comes around because he is often the bearer of bad news. He is someone who looks to read the signs of the time, and he is, really not very hopeful in what he sees. So where we start out with him is he is trying to raise a coalition of heroes and of champions against the Beast King. He knows that the Beast King, if he is provoked, will come forth with all his armies of beasts, but very monstrous beasts and loyal subjects who will come forth and destroy the land. So what he's hoping to do is create a hunting party, a group of unique individuals who can find and hunt the beast. And so that's where we start with him, and he is really a character shrouded in mystery who I can't wait for you to learn more about as we go along. Lastly, our last point of view character is Cystenian the Hunter. So he is, as his name suggests, a hunter, and really his profession is an assassin, and he's really the deadliest force in all of Talamh. He really has no equal, and that's a part of the core driving principle of his character. He wants to prove himself to be the absolute apex of man and beast in all of Talamh, in all the world. And what drives Cystenian is the hunt. That's hunt with a capital H, not a lowercase h. He is absolutely obsessed with it. And what that entails is his desire to prove himself the best. So as he encounters someone or something new that poses a challenge to him, he must prove himself stronger than it. He's conquered every beast he's come across. He's killed every man he's ever been sent after. And he has his sights set on one very unique individual in this book, and that's Prince Arjen of Carth. So there will be conflict of interest there between Aryan and his quest, his noble quest to protect his homeland, and Cystenian's obsessive quest to hunt down Aryan himself. So, with that in mind, I think we've touched on the main point of view characters. If you want to learn more about any of the characters in the series, including a lot of the supporting non-point of view characters, there's an excellent section on the website at the Roots of Stone /characters, where you can see custom artwork for all these men and women, and there's also descriptions for them and little character profiles. So it's pretty interesting stuff, and I highly recommend you check it out. So with moving on to our next exciting thing, we actually have a surprise guest, and Jocelyn, if you're watching, I'm ready for you. I hear Bianca hollering in the distance, so she might not make it here in a sec. All right, I'm gonna holler for her. Just a moment. Hey, Jocelyn. Hey, Jocelyn. Yes.
Oh, it's delayed.
Oh. Apparently there's a video delay. So, yes. As a special treat, but I need you to hold her up.
Oh.
I thought. Oh, good point. Okay. So what I thought we could do is have a duel, because there's lots of action in the Roots of Stone. So what I wanted to do was duel my my greatest opponent, who's very eager to do it normally. Come here. Come here. Come here. Whoa! So this is my daughter Bianca, and we had an epic sword fight earlier, but now she knows there's a camera on, so she's just gonna kick it around. You wanna fight?
Get down.
Ah!
Get him.
Oh no! I want to easily. How about this one? You're so bashful.
Get Daddy. Get him.
What if I get you?
Oh no.
Ah! So this is the kind of high-octane, intense action you can expect throughout Lionheart. Bianca, come here.
Whoa.
Okay. No, we're not going to fight? Okay. But, you know, it's also important that there's peace in the world, and that's what we're all fighting for, and that's what my daughter wants as well. She just can't bear the thought of slaying her daddy live on camera. So, thanks for your help. You look enraptured. Do you feel the call of the Beast King? Is that what it is? Okay. How about I send you with mommy, okay? Is T'Challa nearby?
He's in the bedroom.
Can you grab him for me?
Yeah.
Okay, I have another special surprise coming, and if you've gotten to read any of Lionheart yet, very early on, Cystenian hunts a very special and unique beast called a shadow cat, and I actually have a real life shadow cat here in my house. So it's not quite as big as the one in the story or quite as fearsome, but I just wanted to show it because I thought it was such an awesome thing. Oh, and here he is right now. Whoa, listen to him roar. Oh no. Yeah. Whoa. Can you say hi, Mr. Shadowcat? Yeah, I won't let Cystenian get you. No, I would never do that. So, well, he's not a real shadow cat. He's a house cat. And his name is T'Challa, because he's a Black Panther. So, just a moment, I'm going to scoot him out. Okay, buddy. Go back to the forest, Mr. Shadowcat. So, both of my surprises were hilariously fails, because, toddlers and cats do not make the most reliable partners in video making, but I love them all the same. So I wanted to run through a few asks real quick, and then I'm going to dive into the prologue of the book to sort of close us out. So I'll after I get through these, I will read through the entire prologue. If you want to hear a sweet audiobook version of it and watch the author go through it, then hang on. If you want to just read it yourself, you can always purchase the book, which is the best option, or it's also available on the website in the Book 1 Lionheart page. So a few housekeeping notes first. First and foremost, what we're all celebrating today is that Lionheart is available worldwide. It is in many, many stores. I actually just did a social post about this a few days ago, but it's on Amazon, it's on Books A Million, it's on Barnes & Noble, it's on Google Play Books. There's like 15 places that I found and probably many more that I didn't. But the paperback is $16.99 in most places. I think other places have marked it up depending on the location or the nationality. And the ebook is $9.99. If you're looking for what helps me most, the ebook is I get a lot more royalty from it because there's no cost of goods sold. But honestly, whichever format you choose, it looks great. The paperback, I'm happy to report, is a very nice read. It's got a nice typesetting. The cover looks great. It's very thick and weighty, so it's a highly recommend. And the ebook version looks crisp on a Kindle as well. So whatever your preference is, please go out and get yourself a copy and enjoy the fantasy ride. The other thing that I would ask is that if you're interested in updates on the series, follow me on social. The Roots of Stone is on Facebook, it's on Twitter, and it's on Instagram. I know many of you out there already do, and I very much appreciate your support. But if you're looking for updates as they come along, I'm showing up in places, in author interviews, and other websites, and anything that pertains to the book, I'll post on those channels. So if you're looking for updates, please check those out. You can also check out the website, as I mentioned a couple times. It's therootsofstone.com. You'll see this little logo on there, which is Stone Roots, hey? So I built the site. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of great artwork on there to check out. I highly, highly recommend the characters section. And if you want to reach me with any message, you can do so on social media, any of the platforms I mentioned before, and you can also do so through a contact form on the website. The last couple things I have are reviews. If you have read the book, then please, please, please take the time to leave a review on your platform of choice. It is extremely helpful to me as an author, especially as a self-published author trying to make it in the literary world. But also just it's helpful to have feedback and see people's opinions on it. And really that's what excites me is people reading the book, seeing their experience with it, and seeing if they liked it. So I would very, very much appreciate any reviews you can send my way. The last thing I have before I dive into the prologue is to please share the book with any friends you have who like fantasy. If you know someone in your life who is just a Tolkien nerd and they love Lord of the Rings, let them know about the Roots of Stone. They'll probably love it. If you know someone who is a Game of Thrones viewer, well, I have a great fantasy option for you here because The Winds of Winter seems to not be coming out anytime soon. So please, please, please tell your friends, tell your family, bring it with you on vacation. You know, have a great beach read, freezing in the northern wastes of Talamh. And with that, I think I've covered all my housekeeping notes. So I'm just going to dive into the prologue. If you're one of those lucky people out there who already have a copy from Amazon, you can follow along, you know, like you would in school. But I'm going to do my best to do a dramatic reading of this. I don't think I've ever, you know, done one of these out loud, so here we go. So, The Roots of Stone, Lionheart by Evan W. Deal. Prologue, A Ghost in the Shadows. Far away in the western hills, past the winding rivers of the south and the mystical eternal forest, deep in the heart of the diamond-peaked Cairo Mountains, down in the hellish pits where sun and sky are but a distant dream, a fathomless abyss descended endlessly into the underworld. This gravelly maw greedily sucked away all light, leaving only a shadow of darkest complexion burned into the rocky edifice of the mountain. Though the sweltering sun beat brazenly outside this hole, the cool caves within told a different story. One of eternal night and gusty caverns to chill a man to his bones. The whistling wind sang throughout its many halls, harsh melodies that rose and fell, whooshing a wretched refrain. Woe, they sang, woe to those who would seek the abysm. Amongst these songful gales and bitter stones lived a race of wicked beings, a sinister sect to fill the dismal darkness. Goblins they were, and cave dwellers at that. Their nostrils burned with inner fire, a steaming, boiling, roiling race of hateful demons. The goblins loathed the brotherhood of men with their proud towers and lofty kings. They cared not for the secret beauties of the eternal elves or their healing powers or sweet melodies. No, these beings sought only destruction and dominion with an insatiable thirst for war. However, even the bloodthirsty clans of goblindom bowed to a higher authority, for these lesser beings understood true power. Not even the most brazen among them would dare plumb the innermost secrets of the mountain, for they bore great apprehension of the terrors that lived beyond the pale of life's understanding. A palpable fear permeated the wispy winds of this cave's subterranean paths, an unknowable dread that had cursed the mighty Borislag clan, who called this place their own. The cave goblins of the west had incurred the wrath of a vengeful phantom. The very walls of the abysm themselves paid tribute to the wraith's violence. Over the course of several weeks, not a day had gone by without another bloody splash painted on the walls, compliments of the supposed spectre. Though the vast cave was home to hundreds of Borislag goblins, a veritable legion among goblin kind, their quivering unease grew each day as their numbers diminished by ones and twos. In whimpering huddles they whispered in Gartok, swearing words of undying angst in the presence of the haunting, bespeeching the spirit to pass on from them in peace. But no amity would be found in this hall. Here and there a shadow could be seen on the edges of periphery in the flickering torchlight, another bloody deed mere feet away, wet crimson splashed in sticky puddles of congealing muck. Even the mightiest of the Borislag desperately sought the return of Chief Tobdur, but he was still hunting beyond the bounds of the impenetrable abysm. It was forbidden to remove the seal from the fortress entrance until he returned. To do so was death. The dark cave no longer granted its inhabitants any solace, and so the fearful goblins rotted alone in their dread. Unbeknownst to them, the superstitious goblins were not the true prisoners of the abysm. No, indeed, this ghost in the shadows, this wrathful spirit of vengeance, felt much more isolated than his unwitting captors could have possibly realized. For this spectre was no ghost at all, but a man, cloaked in the shade of the vast cave and stealthily surviving the confines of his unrealized imprisonment. And this survivor was no ordinary man. He was the Prince of Carth. Crouching high among the hidden crevices of the cave complex, the prince bided his time, waiting for an opening to present itself, 10 feet below him, 2 goblin guards muttered in the guttural Gartok tongue. Not being a scholar of goblin linguistics, Aryan, for that was the prince's name, understood very little of their conversation. What few words he could make out sounded like gibberish and fantasy. He caught only snatches of common tongue, dismissing them as a trick of the ears. To his reckoning, these guards babbled in fear, ranting about fantastical beasts and wrathful ghosts. Aryan's muscles tensed as he struggled to keep his body fixed in place. He had just barely dashed into this wedge of rock moments before the 2 guards had rounded a bend in the cave tunnel, and now he found himself in somewhat of a tight spot. For weeks, the prince had laid waste to much of the goblin contingent left in the cave without their leader, Tabdur, who had taken with him a sizable raiding party. Much to Aryan's dismay, the crafty chieftain had ordered the abysm sealed upon his leaving. Trapped behind a solid wall of mountain stone with no company save for the hundreds of goblins scattered throughout the extensive underground lair, he had conducted a clandestine one-man war on the clan in his struggle to survive. A bead of sweat began to slide down Aryan's face as the goblins continued their conversation. He realized he would have to move soon or risk exposure. Closing his eyes, he listened to the cave, feeling it like the great living organism it was. He followed its breath as the winds whipped about the hollowed-out corridors. He felt its stomach roar as the depths of the abyss rumbled far beneath the surface. Finally, he listened for the tap-tap of any goblin morsels heading down the abysm's throat. Sensing no others, Aryan released his hold upon the crag and plunged silently to the ground behind the unsuspecting guards. Aryan landed in a crouch and unsheathed his dagger. He crept furtively toward the sentries, knife held low at his side to avoid any unwanted reflection. Rising slowly behind the nearest goblin, he listened as the gray folk grumbled out another incomprehensible gargle to his fellow. Sure as stone, Aryan ripped his knife across the guard's throat, drawing a thin line of dark red blood that seeped downward in a deadly waterfall. Immediately, he slid around the other sentry, grabbing the goblin's sharp-toothed mouth in the process and stifling a surprised yell. The startled guard protest against Aryan's dirty bare hand shoved roughly against his skin, his form flailing wildly against the prince's iron grip. As the silent struggle unfolded, Aryan's hand heated fiercely as though he had placed it on a boiling kettle. Fire, he thought in a momentary panic. The goblin's throat glowed a menacing orange as the molten magic worked its way upward through his esophagus. With every passing moment, the scalding sensation increased. Aryan bit back the agony that seared his palm and kicked at the goblin's ankle, throwing him off balance. As the foe stumbled, the prince's knife shot swiftly into the guard's head, felling him instantly and dousing the budding flames. Straightening to his full height, which was perhaps slightly shorter than the average Carthan man, Aryan inhaled and breathed a deep sigh of relief. Looking down, he surveyed the resultant carnage, wondering how many goblins he had killed in his weeks trapped in the cavern. Not wanting to waste the opportunity, he ripped a few strips of cloth from the goblin's coarse clothing, fashioning makeshift gloves for his freezing hands and a band for his brow to hold back his shaggy mop of dark blonde hair. Dejected, the prince thought, not for the first time, that his mission had proven a lost cause. He had set out for the abysm with every intention of tracking down the king of all beasts, as it was said that he had once led vast legions of goblin kind. But there was nothing at all for him in this cold black hell, and now he despaired of ever again feeling the warmth of the sun. The whirling winds gusting into the yawning abyss seemed to agree, moaning their distress to be free of this underground prison and echoing his own sentiments. Aryan contemplated abandoning his ghostly persona and attempting a more direct assault in the main hall. Living on the rotted scraps of goblin mutton and cave water for weeks was enough to try any man's patience, even to the point of certain death. Crash! Sorry. Just as Aryan was formulating his plan of attack, a resounding rumble of rock broke forth from the upper tunnels. Shouts from dozens of goblins followed, and Aryan dashed for the entrance hall. He peeled through the abysm's primary tunnel, climbing up and up the steep slope and clinging to the shadows where any groups of goblins hurried past. As he ascended, he began to hear the shrieks and cries of dying goblins piercing the air, running counter-melody with the rushing wind. Aryan emerged at the mouth of the tunnel into the entry chamber of the abysm, a vast dark hall of carved stone supported by huge pillars of mountain rock, shockingly lavished in strong sunlight, streaming through a gaping hole in the mountain face. Before him, a massive melee had broken out, a skirmish so savage that the dozens of bellowing, fire-spewing goblins failed to notice the human in their midst. Aryan choked on the black smoke filling the air and struggled to see the source of the commotion. Finally, his keen blue eyes fixed upon a looming shadow within the haze, the likes of which he had never seen before. A figure like a lion, bathed in the blood and carnage of the boar slug, emerged from the smoke and let loose an earth-shattering roar. Now, if that doesn't get you excited for the book, I don't know what will. I am just so excited to share this book with you all, and thank you all for joining this live launch party. I wish we could have done it in person, but with all the social distancing and limiting groups that are going on right now, I felt like a live stream like this probably would have been best. So I hope you all get excited and are able to read through Lionheart. Once again, I ask that you please tell your friends about it, tell your family about it, tell your coworkers about it, tell random people you know about it. Someone on the street, say, hey, have you heard about the Roots of Stone Lionheart? It's pretty sweet. It's got, it's got swords and people fighting and great character development. So I appreciate you all joining. Once again, I ask that you please leave me a review for the book on your favorite channel, whether it's Amazon or somewhere else, when you're done reading it. And please feel free to reach out to me on any of the Roots of Stone social media platforms or through the form on therootsofstone.com. I'd love to hear any fan theories you have or just any comments you have on the book, whether you loved it or hated it. In any case, I'm just excited for you to read it. So thanks for your time. I am just super pumped to launch this. It's really a dream realized. So trying to think if I'm forgetting anything. I don't think so. So thanks all for joining, and have a great evening.